Hello, and welcome to the very 57th Everybody Dice podcast, where we are going to be talking about if money was no object, what is the one item you'd get to enhance your gaming? That comes up a bit later, though. For the time being, I'm Steve, and today I'm joined by.
It's Daryl. Look at me. I'm here.
I'm not pointing
Hello.
at you.
Oh, you for once you've
Ian.
gone the other way.
Yep,
Hey, wait your turn,
Shit.
scumbag.
Okay. All right.
Ian, and.
Hi, it's Daryl. I'm here. You can see me.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna
Even-
cry.
Even when we've rehearsed this and got it right,
I'm-
we still manage.
For
to
some
screw
reason,
it all.
I didn't
We-
realise you were going
we
in
made-
first.
We made a joke before we started that we've been doing this for 2 years and we still can't get it right. And
On cue, as if totally planned.
Yeah.
blows my mind.
How are you guys doing anyway?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm sad to see that. It's sunny outside, but not at all bothered that I'm inside. So
The country's reopening.
It is.
yeah.
Can't do anything fun yet though.
No benefits to that, in my opinion. There's nothing that I could do yet that I would consider
One thing.
positive.
One thing.
You did mention you went to Entoyment and you said it was nice to actually just go and buy paint.
Oh yeah, I popped in.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing I would say it's nice to just go in and chat, weirdly.
Yeah, I'd meant to do a click and collect before then, and I'd just been putting it off because I'm lazy.
Yeah,
Um,
considering you're just down the road
also,
as well.
all of my shifts were 9-6, so I get there before they
Yeah.
open and I leave as they close.
Yeah, which is kind of annoying, yeah. That's
So I
awkward.
ended up popping in when I was doing like an early, so I finished at 4.
That's good.
So
I've got to admit, it's been nice to be face to face again with people I actually like.
Hello!
Yeah,
wow,
This guy!
it's been good.
a scathing indictment on your opinion of your parents. That was plain nasty,
I see them every day. It's fine.
Yeah.
and you hate them because of it.
It's unfortunately been outweighed by an amount of people who I don't want to particularly see, and I'm thinking we're endangering everything once again for being around people we don't even want to be around. So, yeah. God damn the general public. Hello, the general public.
Hello! Listen and subscribe!
Yes.
Please don't. I hate you.
Yeah, but we can teach them. We can teach
Unless
them
I
better
know you
people.
by name, don't bother.
Guys, you're missing the point here. We could actually better humanity.
No, we
Between
couldn't.
yes, we
Let's be
could.
honest.
Between our three combined minds, we could create a utopia.
Tell you what, I can perfect humanity. Please start eating each other. Just
There we go. There's
kill
one.
the
That's
nearest
one.
person to you and eat them.
That's world hunger solved. Boom. That was like 5 seconds.
You know what the best bit is? We eat people. The houses become freed. We house the homeless.
Boom.
Two problems solved.
Housing population crisis solved. That's another 5 seconds. Go on, Steve. Throw one out. Go on.
Well, to be honest, I was just going to say I'm glad I'm not advertising Board Game Island this week and opening things on cannibalism straight away. Instead, I will be telling you what's been going on the channel. We have had yet another new series go live on the channel. It's a really neat little series, actually, because it's called Why Play, and it's simply a look at a game that we enjoy, and there's no bad things to be said about it. It's not a review, so the problem with reviewing games is you always have to be critical. Like, even if you love the game, you have to nitpick, and it's something that I know winds a lot of people up. Like, sometimes you'll say a bad thing about the game, which otherwise you've said is amazing, and someone will say, "Oh, well, you obviously didn't like that very much," and this is kind of like our solution to that. We're still going to be doing our reviews, obviously, but Why Play is just a really nice opportunity just to be able to say as much good things about a game as possible. The one that went live last Saturday is Why Play the Bloody Inn, which I believe neither of you guys have actually played. I don't think.
No, I haven't. I've always wanted to, but I've never had a chance.
Yeah, but please do go and check that out because it's going to be every single time that we make one of these, it's just going to be kind of like almost like a love letter to that game, and saying exactly why we enjoy it. Not so much going into a deep dive into it. It's just kind of like a short 10-minute video of look at this, it's great, and really leaving it at that. Really, yeah, it's been a really nice opportunity to make something like that. It's going to replace what we were going to do as list videos, because they just take way too long to make. With me back at work now as well, and no longer on furlough, just don't have the time to make those list videos. It took like a week to make a 10-minute video, and that's time I just don't have anymore. But yeah, that's essentially what we've got going there. I was going to suggest, if you two ever have something you really want to do with something like that, then we'll figure something out with those as well. But yeah, we have to wait for the world to open up just a bit more before we can do something like that. But...
Probably for the best that me and him aren't allowed creative control.
Fair enough.
I mean, I don't know how many people would watch 90 minutes of Star Wars, gushing over Star Wars, and
loads of people do that in cinemas around the world.
Yeah, but I don't think ours would be a patch on the cinema stuff.
But bear in mind,
just have to throw in some quotes and we'll be good.
I have the high ground, just crying the whole time.
This is where the fun begins.
It will just be like 90-minute videos where you talk about a specific Star Wars board game for about 5 minutes, and then just go off on the movie stuff and the extended universe for the rest of it.
You could start every video with, this is where the fun begins. And then if it's not like planes or anything, we're like, oh, this is why we hate flying. There's jokes to be made there.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, so how about we get on to some what we've been playing? Okay, so to start things up, I am going to talk a bit about Buffy Unmatched, because on this podcast we talk about Unmatched every week now. So
it's become a thing.
So the only set that I'm actually missing now is Coral and Fog, which is a nightmare to get hold of in the UK. I know we've got the Marvel sets coming out very soon, so in theory, unless somehow I get hold of a copy of Coral and Fog, or if Daryl gets hold of a copy, this is probably going to be the last time we're really talking about Unmatched for a little while. The Buffy set, you still haven't gotten your copy, have you, Daryl?
Yeah, no. So I pre-ordered mine a long time ago when I was talking to Steve about it, but for some reason, the company I pre-ordered it on, it's not coming out to the 30th. Whereas the place we've bought stuff, like the one that seems to have a lot of the Mondo games anyway, always in stock, they seem to get their stuff super early.
Yeah, they do. And I think the release date for this was originally April anyway, I believe.
Yeah. I think originally, yeah, it was.
But yeah, it seems like whenever they do these releases, only a limited amount ever makes it to the UK, so it makes a lot of these sets really difficult to get hold of, which is why we talked about a couple of podcasts ago about how Yellow had kind of like taken over the distribution across Europe of the Unmatched games, meaning that at the moment they've only got hold of the Volume 1 with Sinbad, Alice, Medusa, and Arthur, yeah, that's it. That one and Robin Hood versus Bigfoot, they're the only two that are really easy to get hold of in the UK right now. Everything else you kind of have to get a bit lucky. But anyway, yeah, I've managed to get hold of a copy of the Buffy one, and it is probably the most disappointing one so far, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But it does not come without some really cool stuff in it. The biggest, I'll start off with what's not quite so good about it. There's not any kind of special rules added for maps and stuff like that. Like a lot of the ones they've been releasing recently, it's not just new things with characters they've been adding new ways to interact with the maps. Like we said on the previous podcast, the Beowulf versus Little Red Riding Hood one, they added doors to it. The Jurassic Park one added one-way systems.
Yeah, and some traps as well, which is quite cool.
But this one doesn't add anything, so you just get a standard board. It is still two-sided, but it's there's nothing special about them really. And Buffy and Angel seem to be like the two most uninspiring characters in the entirety of the Unmatched universe. Like, in a way, they're really good beginner characters because there is nothing really too special about them. Like, for example, Buffy's main thing is that she's got a selection of sidekicks that she can use. So
Okay, that's pretty cool.
you can either have Giles or you can have Xander accompanying Buffy. You have to choose at the beginning of the game, and you have to only include those cards in her deck, basically.
So there's separate decks then for...
It's only a very minimal amount of cards. There's like 4 Xander cards and 4 Giles cards, and you have to remove the cards of whichever one you're not using. So really, the things that spice that character up are what's not is your opponent will kind of like have to second guess which character you're going to use as the secondary character. Yeah, because it adds a little bit of variance to the character, but very little. Otherwise, everything is very, very standard with her. She's just got your standard attacks. I think she's got a few things where she can like heal her health as well and stuff like that, but it's very minimal. And Angel, as far as I could tell, he just gets stuff whenever he loses. Like, that really seems to be the only thing that I can see with him. Otherwise, everything else just plays as standard. So, in other words, for every melee that he will lose, he gets a boon back if you play a certain card or something like that.
Okay.
It's literally this whole thing of for every loss you incur, you get something extra out of it. And that's it. That's all that character is, and I just found him a bit dull. Along with the Buffy one, it just didn't really click with me. The game does become a bit more interesting with Spike, who can lay shadows on the map, and it's a little similar to Ingen from Jurassic Park, the Jurassic Park set. But these shadows do more things, like they will buff Spike or they'll debuff people that are in spaces next to shadows. So there's a lot of different effects that he can get from that for the other people. So that's really neat. But the best thing in the game, and this actually makes it worth getting, is Willow, who is just one of the most amazingly thematic characters I've ever seen in the Unmatched game. So the idea with Willow is she will keep changing between being Willow and Dark Willow. And when she becomes Dark Willow, she gains more power, but she burns through her deck quicker. So it's really easy to be able to just basically run away from Willow and make her waste cards and burn them out. So she wants to manage between being Dark Willow and regular Willow.
Chew.
Bless you.
Sorry.
But it's all right. But yeah, you have to kind of like balance between being the two intelligently, smartly. You've got to be smart about it. And what is really interesting is her sidekick Tara. If she ends in the space next to Dark Willow, she changes back to Willow. So you have to try and keep her close by, because it's the easiest way of being able to change back to Willow. There is also a couple of cards that let her do it as well. But there is a card that if you're Dark Willow and you play, if the circumstance is right, you will end up killing Tara yourself. So
that's actually pretty cool.
It's amazingly thematic. Like the whole thing of Dark Willow not wanting to change back, so she's just going to kill her own sidekick. It's not necessarily like a great character. Like if you're after like someone that's really overpowered to be able to play around with and stuff, it's probably not the character for you. But it's one of the most interesting characters, definitely. I find she's really fun to play with, if not necessarily good. But yeah, it's a mixed bag, this Unmatched set. Certainly feels like the way they've gone is they might have given a couple of really standard characters in it, because this is one of those sets that a lot of people are going to go, oh, Buffy! And buy it.
That's where I did, to be fair. I was like,
without really being a board gamer necessarily. So they need something.
I saw the Buffy and went, "Oh, Buffy."
Yeah, I mean the other thing is I'm also not as keen on the sets anyway, where you don't have a a mix of people from different things, like the very ethos of Unmatched, and what they really sold it on was the whole idea of play such and such from this universe against such and such from this universe. And then they released a couple of sets where you're not really doing that because everything is contained from within the same universe as one another. I imagine that could possibly be a licensing thing. Like, for example, like even with the upcoming Marvel sets, I think any of us would rather not have any of them at all, but have a Captain America versus Batman set.
Oh yeah, 100%. That'd be crazy.
But they'll never do that. They'll never do that because DC would never go, well, we don't want you to underpower Batman. Batman should be beating Captain America, and Marvel will have the exact same arguments from their side as well. So I think it's one of those little pitfalls of being ambitious with licenses and stuff like that, is what we want to see isn't what we're going to get. And it's up to them to release the separate sets because they can. Like, just because they've released a Marvel set doesn't mean they won't release a DC set further down the line, and then you can choose
cross them
to put them all together. I very nearly knocked over my drink then.
Oh no!
But yeah, I mean, that's where I am with this Unmatched thing at the moment. I am finding myself even buying the sets now. Like, I didn't plan on buying the Buffy set at all.
No, I remember you saying you were only going to you only wanted the starter and the Cobbler and Fog and maybe like Bruce Lee.
But you get sucked in.
I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it more when we go on to some of the news later on about what I've discovered. But yeah, we'll carry on.
Okay. So next up, I am going to talk a little bit about Legend of the Five Rings. Full disclosure, I haven't actually played this against someone yet. I've kind of... it's something that I'm starting to get into a little bit. And Daryl, you've been playing this for a little while. Or at least you've had the set. And
I had the set for a little while. I think I'm in the same boat as you. I've never actually played it. It was funny. We were talking about it. We did like a... I can't remember. We did something quite early on, didn't we? Where we had photos of each other playing like games with each other, like card games. I think there was like Pokemon, Magic... some other stuff. I think I'm in our top 50 or something like that, or maybe something else. And that was the first and only time I opened the box.
I seem to remember because, for a start, this is a complicated game.
Oh, 100%.
It's not a living card game that's particularly easy to pick up and play. And I think when we did that afternoon of playing all those card games, I'm not sure whether Legend of the Five Rings made it in necessarily in the end, because we were playing card games all day, and I think we maybe got a little bit into setup of Legend of the Five Rings, and then kind of went, shall we do something we know? There was that, but the reason why I haven't done a proper kind of like ghost play with this yet is because it's really difficult to, because out of all the living card games that I've kind of sat down and had a little bit of a play with, this is the one that's probably closest to Netrunner. It's still not Netrunner, but it's the closest thing that I've played to it. So the reason why you can't really ghost play this is because there's a lot of instances of players setting up secret information and trying to get the opponent to probe and take a gamble with stuff, and it doesn't really work when you know all the information anyway, and you're just playing around with it. But it's a game that I'm definitely going to be getting into because, like I said, with Netrunner gone now, this seems at least like a really good replacement for it. So the idea is it's set in a fictional representation of kind of feudal Japan. And the idea is you take control of a clan, and you have a number of provinces and a stronghold that are in front of you. And the idea is you have political and military battles over the course of the game, to basically try and break all. I think you have to break 3 provinces, and then you can attack your opponent's stronghold. But your provinces are face down at the beginning of the game, so you don't know how strong their strongholds are, or whether they may have any nasty effects that come back. They also have effects that only trigger once they're face up, and the only way to get them face up is by launching an attack on a province, basically. So there is a degree of risk of saying, right, I'm going to attack that province there because you've put that card on there, because the idea is you also lay a number of cards on top of your provinces that kind of act as protection for those areas, though you kind of have to summon them into play as well. It's really interesting because, like I say, you're playing with a lot of hidden information. There's a lot of probing and feeling your opponent out before attacking and stuff, and like really, like, the first time you attack a province, you are just searching for information. It's the second time, really, when you're launching an attack, because you have to pay fate in order to bring the players that are in your provinces into play to then be able to attack either with military or political might against each of the areas. You kind of have a back and forth between the players where people keep summoning characters and then setting them into a specific conflict where you also add an element to it. Like I said, it is really complicated.
Massively complicated, yeah.
It is massively complicated, and I started getting the gist of it and stuff. And then you have this kind of like this bit where you have this dial which represents how much honor you're going to risk in order to take more cards into your hand to then be able to sway how each conflict goes. So the cards you have in your hand are the things which are secret that you're going to be able to play down and say, okay, I'm going to add extra military might to this attack, or something like, or I'm going to equip a weapon to this person. So that's where things change from the initial, I'm going to put these characters into the battle and I'm going to send these characters in to defend it. So the funny thing is what is really nice about the thematics of this, when you're setting your dial to how many cards you're going to take into your hand, the difference between what you set on your dial and what your opponent sets on their dial is the amount of honor that is lost, because the idea is you're taking more things into your hand that are going to be trickier, that are going to be more dirty tactics to use on the other person. And honor and dishonor play a large part in it as well. Like, if someone hits 25 honor, so if they gain way too much honor over the course of the game, they automatically win. And if someone gets reduced to 0 honor, they automatically lose. So you can't be too hasty with taking too many tricks into your hand if your opponent isn't taking very many at all. Because if they select 1 card and you select 5, you lose 4 honor straight away. And you kind of begin the game with about 11 or something like that. So you could lose a lot of honor very early on. It's a really interesting system with lots of moving cogs, and I think that's where this is going to be a hard game for someone to get into, is the amount of information that's on that board that's moving all the time. But I think sometimes in a lot of these games, because I certainly found it with Netrunner as well, that when you get to learn it and you get to learn your deck as well, all these little things, when they all start working together, become like just this wonderful experience of watching everything in movement, about balancing all this honor and launching attacks, whether it be military or political. Knowing how to use your fate as well is very important, because the other thing is your characters that you put out onto the field, they're only going to be there for 1 round if you don't boost them with extra fate. So you may not want to spend all your fate and instead choose to boost a couple of characters with extra fate, so you know they're going to stay on the board for longer than 1 turn as well, which is especially useful if you decide to, say, put out one particularly powerful character that costs a lot of fate, because essentially, for, let's say you had a 4-cost character that you put onto the field and you put 2 extra fate on top of that to keep them there, you've essentially paid 6 fate for what would have costed 12 if that card, say, came up 3 times and you put them onto the field. So there is a lot of kind of forward planning and stuff to that, which I think is amazing. And like I was finding I understood everything as I was going.
I guess from your point of view, you've played something similar, haven't you, with Netrunner?
Yeah.
Whereas with me, for me personally, at that point was probably the first living card game I'd ever seen, and I only went on it purely based on the fact that it was like a kind of like Oriental samurai Japan style kind of thing, which I kind of like the look of. So I think, yeah, going back to it now, looking at it when I've been reading it, some of it does make more sense purely based on the fact that I've gone for a couple more living card games now, and I kind of understand the mechanics of some of them in a way.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I can already tell this is inferior to Netrunner, but with Netrunner gone, this is a really nice thing to slot in there because Arkham Horror is something completely different. And Marvel Champions as well is something completely different. They're pretty much not even comparable to Netrunner. Just in terms of the way they play and stuff like that, it's completely different to it. I think this is one of the really cool things we're starting to find about living card games now is just how different they all are.
Yeah.
Like, just because you like one living card game doesn't mean you're going to like playing all the different ones because they all play very, very differently.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that.
Yeah, and it's just a really neat concept. I think living card games are certainly becoming something.
The thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like, the things people can do with them is amazing. And I think it helps that decks aren't randomized. Everyone has access to the same cards. There's no buying boosters or anything like that.
Yeah. I do think
helps
that's one of the
them
big things.
Anyway, I've gone on enough. How about you guys talk a bit about Blood Bowl?
Where do we begin? Let's start with Ian and his start of negativity, but back into, I would say now, positivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with that.
The first game I played drove me to so much saltiness that I rage quit mid-game and conceded to Andy. Like, I was furious. I basically hadn't had a good roll all game. I was getting attacker downs with every roll, and it wasn't good fun. And I decided to give it another chance, and I'm quite glad I did, because I've never had such a big outlet for making pun character names as Blood Bowl. I just love sitting there and making up teams with stupid names. It's the best thing about the game. Yeah, occasionally you play a game with these teams, and you might, knock someone over with one of your guys. But there's nothing more satisfying than seeing a touchdown thing come up with one of the pun names you've made of one of the characters that you've made a little pun for. It's great. I love it.
So we started off the league. How many times have we done this league now? Probably 3 or 4 times. So it started off basically. It turns out that Phil made it wrong, so none of us could progress. So basically, none of us could die, which was really useful at the start.
To be fair, we're doing a stunty league, so that was probably a good idea. But I mean, it's too late now.
Yeah. So basically, everyone just got injured, or no one died. So we're like, oh, that's good. Then not as bad as they were.
This all stems from the fact that I played Andy with my lizard men, and he had halflings, which are like the joke team in Blood Bowl. They die, and I slaughtered his team. It was 2-0. I spent a good amount of time just kicking the shit out of his players. And after the game, I remember looking at my team and thinking, why can't I level any of these guys? I slaughtered these little halflings for the joy of... He killed one of my guys, but I injured so many of his guys. I was thinking, I should have loads and loads of XP to play with. And I realised Phil had a setting that meant that you don't progress and stuff like that. So we reset the league and we went again. And then Andy decided he was changing teams because he didn't want to get wrecked. So we reset the league. And then he decided to play halflings anyway.
And then we reset the league.
So as far as I'm aware, I think we're waiting on me and Phil to play. He's playing goblins and I'm playing lizard men.
So annoyingly, in the let's say game 0 where we never died, I have never seen such luck and such rolls ever in my life. Right, I was doing things that could probably never be done before. I'm playing as ogres. I was throwing nobblers and they were making it. They were landing. They weren't falling. No one was dying. I was impressed. I managed to every time I tried to do a. Oh no, I'm not. I'm still here.
You're still there,
Every time
yeah.
I tried to, yeah, it just tore up then. Every time I tried to do like a going for it roll, I hit them every single time, and I was like, and me and Phil were playing against each other, and he was just like, you're mad, you're mad, and every time touchdown, every time launch the knobbler, it just went, and I was like, oh my god, they're doing so well, and then after that, now I'm on normal luck, where they
you played
mostly,
an AI team, didn't you?
yeah, they.
And did Shrek die, or was it Onions?
Onions got killed, so I basically named them all Shrek-related things. All of the nobblers are donkey in some way or another. So every time they die, I don't really care. But the thing that's upset me the most is I haven't got enough gold to replace Onions. Onions got killed, like straight up killed. I bought an apothecary roll, like extra thing, and the option was let him die, re-roll, let him die or let him die, and I was like, oh well, these are great options. So he basically is dead. I can't replace him. I'm an ogre down. It was honestly, but like Shrek is doing well. Shrek is MVP. He's like level 2, nearly level 3. He's got like new abilities. There's a donkey.
I can't wait to tell you about my Chaos team that me and Jay's league, because
Oh, it's just, is that the ones, the photos?
yeah. So
Yeah. So
I mean, do you want me to run through my Chaos team quickly?
Yeah, go on.
I'll go through some of the levels. So the goat, who is a Minotaur, as in greatest of all time, G.O.A.T. Sorry, the team is called the Men Who Stare at Goat, GOAT, and they play at Wembley.
Oh my gosh.
The goat is a Minotaur.
Yeah.
He is level 6.
Level 6.
He is level 6. He injures about 6 people a game at this point. It's horrendous. He's got like claws, he's got tentacles, he's got guard. He's so good. And then I named all my Chaos Warriors after the cast of the Men Who Stare at Goats. So we've got you and McGregor, Gorge Clooney, Kevin Pacey, and Kevin Bludgers, and they're level 6, 5, 5, and 3.
Jesus.
Then we got the Beastmen, who are all named sort of weird goat puns. So we've got Goaty McGoatface, Diane Bleaton, Vincent Ram Goat,
Oh my god.
Liam Neeson, Goat So Simple, Hugh Edwards.
Like, oh, it's so simple.
Yeah.
What?
We got this one's a stretch, but it's
Oh.
Goat Luigi Behuffon. we got Barack Obama. Got Brendan Fraser. Hugh Edwards. Oh, I've done Hugh Edwards. Sorry, Hugh Dennis. And finally, Mike Bison.
Oh, nice. That's a good one.
But yeah, it's
That's crazy, man.
it's my favourite bit about the game is that you can make silly team names. So my team that's the Lizard Men team for the Stunty League. Have you seen their names yet? No.
No, I've not come across them. I just know that is it the Stinky Butts or something like that?
They're called the Skinky Butts,
Stinky
and
Butts, that's it.
they're named I like big butts, large ass, huge caboose, beefy buns, plumpus rumpus, skinny haunches, tiny buttocks, minute cheeks, flat keister, itsy bitsy botty, baby tushy, and diminutive derriere. But me and Jay have been playing some leagues, and he's got like an undead team. And earlier I played a halfling team because I've randomised the AI of what's in our league, and I cleared the field.
Jeez.
I injured or knocked out or killed every player on the field and was free to walk across the field for my touchdown. It was horrendous.
Jesus, man.
I'm looking at making an orc team called The Biggest Boys. And I need some names that are like big related. Because so far I've got the Big Lebowski, the Big Show, Tom Hanks in Big, Biggie Smalls, Big Ben,
Kahuna.
the Big Apple,
Can you call one?
Big Mac,
Can you
Big
call?
John Studd, Big Van Vader, and Big Scoob.
Can you just call one Big Trouble in Little China?
Oh, what a
Yes.
great idea! Oh, I hadn't even thought of that. Big Trouble, Little China. Oh, it doesn't fit.
Oh, oh, well.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I'll call one Big Trouble and one in Little China.
Oh, they've always got to be next to each other.
I'll have my two orc throwers. One's called Big Trouble and one's Little China.
Oh man.
I'm definitely doing that. That's a great idea. Means I'd have to rename Big Scoob and Big Van Vader. Oh man. Sorry, that's my highlight of Blood Bowl is that I can name things silly things.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a punishing game, but it is fun.
When it goes wrong for you, it goes wrong for you. There was a game I played the other day in me and Jay's league against Goblins, and I went 1-0 down to Goblins with my overpowered Chaos team in turn 2. And it stayed like that because I kept turning over every round until like the very last round, and I just managed to scrape a draw. And I was just like, nothing has gone right in this game. Like, the first thing that happened was my Minotaur attacked with 3 dice on a Goblin, got 3 attacker downs, and got injured. And I was just like, oh, why? It was horrendous.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we
I
move
love
on?
it, though. I love it and I hate it.
It's a love-hate affair.
game.
Okay. So I'm going to bring back a section now that has been missing for a few podcasts. Steve plays games with his parents.
Oh, it's back.
First off, I'm going to talk a little bit about Survive Escape from Atlantis. I think we are going to have a real good time with this game when we can eventually get back in a room together, because this is a lot of stupid fun. So the idea is that there's a central island that's made up of lots of tiles. Some of them will be beach tiles, some of them will be forest tiles, some of them will be mountain tiles. And we will all have meeples, which on the bottom of them all have a number written on them between 1 and 6. I can't remember exactly how many meeples you've got. You've got something like 10 with an assortment of different numbers on. You then take turns around the table placing one of your meeples on one tile that's on this board, and then you're not allowed to look underneath that meeple again. So then you get onto the actual game itself. The island is crumbling, starting with the beach tiles. They're going to be disappearing into the ocean, then the forest tiles, and then finally the mountain tiles. And there are 4 points on the edges of the game board, which are safe islands that you have to get all your meeples to. You can try and swim through the water if you really want, or you can try and use some of the boats that are on there as well. There's some really interesting rules about boats, though. Now, on your turn, you get to move 3 meeples, or at least you get 3 movement points, shall we say. So you can move 1 meeple 3 times, or you can move, say, 3 meeples 1 space. So you can slowly move them across the island. But if a meeple is in the water, there's rules for swimming. So you can only move a meeple 1 space. So if you only have 1 meeple left and they're in the water, you're not going to be able to use all of your movement points. You can just move once, and that's the end of your turn. Then you get to destroy 1 tile that's currently on the island. So you remove that tile and you drop the meeple into the water. And on the bottom of the tile, as it's randomized, you'll have an event that will happen. Either it will be something that will happen straight away, or it will be a tile that you're going to be able to keep secret and you're going to be able to keep to play on another turn. So it might be something like spawn a shark. And if a shark is ever on a space with a meeple, it eats the meeple, and that meeple is dead. There are whales. Whales will destroy boats. So if a whale ends on a space of a boat, destroys that boat. It is very possible that you are going to remove a tile and it's instantly going to have a shark spawn on the bottom of it, drop the shark in, and that meeple that's gone in the water is just instantly dead without any chance of ever saving it. So it's a really mean-spirited game. You also have sea monsters, which are like they're not actually giant squids. I think they are just sea monsters. They're almost like a dragonish type thing. They both destroy boats and they destroy meeples as well. The boats have a really interesting mechanic to it in that they have 3 spaces on them. And so 3 meeples can get into one boat, and you can have meeples of different colours within the boat. But the person who can control the boat is the person with the most meeples of one colour in it. So if there's 2 reds and a green in there, the red player has control of it. So the red player might know that the 2 meeples they've got on board that boat are 1 meeples, and may suspect that the green meeple is a 6 or something like that. So they're just deliberately going to run the boat into a whale and destroy them all. You can do stuff like that in there. Like I said, it is a really mean-spirited game. But it is that whole thing of you can't look at the meeples once the game's begun, and you're not allowed to look at them until the very end of the game as well. So you could very easily have one player that by the end of the game has gotten 5 of their meeples to safety on one island, and another player has only gotten a single meeple onto an island at the end of the game. But if all 5 of those meeples for the person that saved 5 all have 1 on, and that one person with that 1 meeple had a 6, that person beats them. It's like absolutely crazy. It's so simple, yet it is incredibly fun. Really, really good family weight game, and I can see us really enjoying playing this one because it is one of those games of just pure chaos that is nice and simple, easy to play. Don't really have to explain any rules to anyone because it is so simple, and you just get to wreck people as well. Like I said, really mean-spirited, but in a kind of fun way. So I don't feel as if people will ever come away from this feeling particularly hard done by, unless the entire table decides to gang up on someone, which is also very, very possible. Like, you haven't saved a single one of my guys. Let's all just still kill him. You know, it's very much the table can just gang up on them and stuff. But yeah, that is Survive Escape from Atlantis. I think it's like aged from 8+ or something like that, so you can get young children in on this one. I think you might be muted, Daryl.
Beating up people with sharks.
Yeah, pretty much. Beating up people with sharks, wrecking people in boats with whales, and devouring them with sea monsters. I've also got an expansion for this that introduces dolphins that help players.
Oh no.
And giant squids as well, which I'm not quite sure what they do yet, but it does look very, very cool.
I'd like to kindly decline your offer of playing it with young kids.
I didn't say we have to play it with young kids.
Okay.
It's optional.
Yeah. It's an option.
I would love to take out some young kids to an actual boat and throw them to sharks.
Lovely stuff.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Steve, rein it back. Told you, no creative control.
Yeah. Okay, and one last thing. Again, Onitama. I mentioned this recently on actually our video that we did of 6 great alternatives to chess.
Stu.
Bless you again.
Gosh.
Guys, I think I'm allergic to fun.
Let's stay in lockdown. I don't want fun. Onitama, yeah. By the way, that video, I'm not kidding. I think it's probably the best video we've ever made.
Oh my god.
Bless you again. But no.
I think I'm dying.
Oh dear. Should we just call an ambulance now, Daryl?
I mean,
you guys call the ambulance. I'll keep drinking my honey whiskey.
maybe.
Oh dear. But anyway,
God,
yeah, something I did want to say was, seriously, go if you haven't already, go and check out that 6 great alternatives to chess video. Like I say, I'm pretty confident in saying that it's probably the best video that we've made, and it's sitting at 12 views. So I know not a lot of people have watched it, so by all means, go and have a look because it's really worthwhile. There's some really great little 2-player games on there. Onitama is one of them. which is probably one of the closest examples to chess. But if you've ever looked at chess and thought, I'd quite like to get into that, but I can't remember how any of the pieces move, and I have no chance of ever beating anyone that's anywhere. Like, I played with a chess against someone a little while back who is by no means a master, but someone who is quite fluent in chess. And he checkmated me in like 10 moves, something like that. It was ridiculous. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like I said, I didn't even know how all of the pieces could move across the board. So yeah, it was brutal. Onitama kind of fixes this problem, because the idea is that you have two cards in front of you, your opponent has two cards in front of them, and there is one card in the middle, and all of them show very specific ways that you can move each piece. And the idea is you select one of your cards on your turn, you move the piece in the way that is depicted on the card, then you swap your card with the one that's in the middle, and they're your two new movement options for your next turn. And then your other player gets the turn, and they get to take that card that you just used. So if it was a particularly good card, you've just used an amazing card and then given them the option of doing that exact same thing. And the idea of the game is to either capture your opponent's master, or to get your master all the way over to the other side of the board and end on the shrine piece. It's really interesting because you can see every move that's possible on the board all the time. So you can kind of start to plot out exactly how you're going to move. So this game will have a certain degree of analysis paralysis, where someone is just sat there figuring out everything that will move on the board. And not just trying to make a move that is going to benefit them, but also not give your opponent something that is going to mean that they get to take one of your pieces, for example. Really interesting. Like, it's certainly the game that if someone was saying, I'd really like to give chess a try, but I find all the information a bit overwhelming, this is the game that you play instead. Each player only has 5 pieces, 1 master and 4 students. So you're very limited with how many pieces there are on the board. And like say, the movement will be there for you to be able to see exactly how they're going to move. Does mean as well that it's asymmetrical as well, because your opponent will be moving in different ways that you will move, although you'll get to move in those ways eventually across the game. And it's neat as well because you get a whole deck of cards as well, so it's randomized at the beginning, so the game will be different every single time you play it as well, which is really neat. And I very much implore people to play this game and give it a try.
I think what's interesting about that is obviously chess is very... You have the same thing every time. Learn how to best master that.
Yeah.
I think adding a level of variance, I think, will bring more joy to it.
Yeah.
Might be wrong. That's the sort of thing I would say, and then when I play it, I'd get really angry, but we'll see.
But the thing is, despite that ability to randomize your game, you're still playing with perfect information, and that's the thing that chess players always say, that you always have perfect information. There's never any random chance in a game of chess. It's the same with Onitama. All you're doing is you're randomizing the movement options that everyone has, and because there's only ever 5 of them, it's relatively easy to pick up exactly what those movement bits are and arrange a strategy at the beginning of the game. I definitely find this game massively enjoyable, and the fact that the games only last like 5 minutes as well is massively appealing as well. Definitely like a game night starter whilst you're waiting for all your friends to arrive and stuff. But yeah, there we have it. Onitama. Shall we move on to some news?
Yes. News. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
News.
News.
The news
Yes.
hound has delivered some spicy news for me.
Oh, I like spicy news.
And
News hound. News
the
hound.
the news hound, yeah, has delivered us some Deadpool Unmatched. So what I've written down as the news story for this is Deadpool Unmatched Set, definitely not a joke. Because this was announced on April 1st.
Right, okay.
And the immediate reaction from everyone was, this is an April Fool's joke. And Mondo Games actually had to say, no, this isn't a joke. This is actually happening. It's almost the perfect way to introduce a Deadpool set, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
And the
Do you
fact...
reckon that was planned?
Sorry? I reckon it was. I think it was. And then I think people just really started getting on the bandwagon of, this is definitely a joke. And so they actually had to say, no, we really promise
We're doing it. It's real.
You can put pre-orders in for this. This is happening. The thing that you're immediately going to be able to get from that picture that's on screen there is they have gone with a really awesome art style for this.
Oh yeah, 100%. The cars are incredible.
It's all like scribbles and kids like drawings with crayon and stuff like that for all of them.
It's very like Deadpool writing his own cards style.
Yeah,
Craziness
like...
almost.
Yeah, it's kind of... Hang on. What is it? I've forgotten. I haven't got a good picture of the model that you're getting in it as well, but he's kind
doing
of
a really
like,
weird pose.
Yeah, he's kind of like cross-legged, holding out his hands, and he's got something in one of his hands, but I can't quite see it on the picture that I've got there. The packaging for it, it's kind of like all bits of crumpled up paper and stuff like that on the back of it. Just really nicely presented. Yeah, even the text that all the cards have writing on and stuff like that is just kind of like handwritten kind of scribbles and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this one, because what else is interesting about it is this is the first Unmatched set since the Bruce Lee set where you just get an individual character.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because that was the Bruce Lee one was a very. You got that, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
In one hand, he's got his hand open, like gesturing, and the other hand, he's got like a proper cartoon-style Bugs Bunny round bomb. That's what it is.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, like I did get the Bruce Lee one, and he's up there with like the most interesting characters in this game.
Yeah, I would definitely say he's got really good skills to him and stuff.
You can't help but think that when you haven't got enough, because a lot of these sets, and we've said this before about Unmatched, whenever they've put a set out of like a 2-player set or something like that, you've always found that they've had two characters that are kind of the foil to one another kind of thing. So they play very well against one another, as in a lot of you can exploit a lot of the weaknesses in the other character with the other character that you've got in the set, and vice versa as well. They tend to do that really, really well in their sets. And the Bruce Lee one was really interesting because they just kind of went wild with it, because they didn't have another character to oppose it. So they just kind of made this amazing character that was always discarding cards, then taking cards back into their hand. And the way it was played
Very
was...
cool.
Yeah, it was a really interesting way of playing. Didn't really have that card burn that a lot of other characters will have with Bruce Lee.
No.
And I don't know whether that would have worked quite as well in a set with another opposing character. Like, it almost felt like they were given a bit of freedom by only having one character to do something a bit crazier. And
I suppose it was sort of they weren't forced to make it so that it was completely balanced between the two, and the two had a way of combating the other.
Yeah, pretty much. It will be interesting to see whether they've gone the same route with this Deadpool then. Like, they've had an idea to make a really out there and crazy character which would be completely fitting with Deadpool, and the easiest way to do it is just to release the character on its own. That's what I'm really hoping for with this one. But
I think that's like super thematic as well for like him being able to sort of smash up random characters throughout history and stuff like that. It's gonna be very cool.
So, as a fellow collector of Unmatched, how excited would you say you are about this, Daryl?
Right. Okay. This is where I'm going to go on a little trip down. I don't know, down the rabbit hole, shall we say? I think the other day I showed Stephen as a Facebook group, weirdly, to do with this. Okay, and one of the things I came across, which I found was really interesting, is one of the guys that's quite a lot of posts are from is actually the creator of a lot of the actual content. So it turns out that there's a second volume 2 version coming out of the original set. So it's going to have 4 new characters. The T-Rex is 100% happening, which is incredible. But the thing that I was amazed about the most was homebrew. So
Yeah.
basically, people are genuinely creating they're building the 3D miniatures. Ian, you're gonna love this one in a second. And they're creating the cards and playtesting them. Now, where it gets incredible is the fact that I've actually seen a Gordon Ramsay
Perfect.
3D printed model and kit that goes with it, and people are posting it and saying, I've play tested Gordon Ramsay, he works really well, etc., etc. So people are home creating DIY kits, telling other people to test them, giving them the files for 3D printing, and then the community as a group is creating more and more, I guess, third-party concepts to go in this game, which is incredible. And the fact that, like, some of the stuff that I've seen is incredible. I mean, you saw a couple of them, Stephen, but people are really going out there. They're balancing the decks out. They're creating really thematic stuff. It's almost like I never realized it had such a cool, like a kind of cult following where people are creating content for it, for a game that essentially is something you can't really. It's all very much kind of you buy the whatever it is, and that's it. I just think it's incredible that people are making this, and there's a nice, massive community that's creating all this like random. I mean, imagine I can't remember who else it was. Like Gordon Ramsay. There's one that people kept bringing up quite a lot.
Wasn't
I
it a
can't remember
set?
who it was, but
Wasn't it a set of Gordon Ramsay, Gordon Ramsay and the Pillsbury Doughboy?
that was it. That was
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it's just really crazy stuff, and you're like, this is so good. The fact that people
I
and
like
like, the
that.
models, the 3D models people are making are actually quite good. Like they're not as good as the standard, but they are very good, and I love it. I think it's so funny.
I really hope,
Pillsbury
like,
Doughboy
Oh, man.
I hope that Gordon Ramsay set is just
gets
filled with
made.
cards with like obscenities on them.
It's
Boil that,
I
boil that
think
fucking
they should-
water again. This fish is undercooked.
You're an idiot
Fuck
sandwich.
off.
They need to release Gordon Ramsay alongside the T-Rex.
Oh
So the
my
T-Rex
god.
has the ability that says raw, and Gordon Ramsay has the ability that says it's fucking raw.
Oh god.
And like when one uses raw and the other uses raw, it cancels out. And it's just
man.
Gordon Ramsay and the T-Rex roaring at each other.
Oh my god. Amazing.
But yeah, I am off track. I am interested in another solo figure. I think that's a good idea. Like it's nice to, like you say, I would be more. I guess I'd be more interested in a way if the Marvel stuff was singular.
Okay.
Only purely based on the fact that we were talking about earlier, where it's kind of once it's a full licensed set, it does take away a little bit of the fun element. Whereas an individual figure, you can just go, Deadpool is now going to fight Sherlock Holmes or Buffy or Muldoon or Raptors, and it makes sense because of the character for him anyway. But it's nice. I'd like to see more of these like miniature one-off sets because the Bruce Lee one was so unique. At the time, I've not played some of the. Obviously, I've not played the Buffy one. I know you said it's not as but I like the fact that he was very much just hit, refresh his deck, hit, and it was like it felt different compared to at the time what had been out. So I don't know. Maybe
I've got a
maybe
question.
go.
Where do I find the 3D printed model of Gordon Ramsay?
If you, I'll link the Facebook later. But basically, the Facebook had it on there, and I'm pretty sure all of them are just giving out the files. They're just because they just want people to create these games and enjoy them and test them and play them. And I don't know if there's
I would
something.
like to have a little painted Gordon Ramsay.
Well, this is the thing. I don't know. I don't know if because like I say, one of the creators was on there from like Restoration Games, I think. I don't know if because of that competition that I spoke about before, where people have actually got their miniatures made now. I don't know if these people were people that had originally created a full deck and the miniature and submitted it because someone else had they've been play testing something else and someone had play tested something else. Someone's play tested the T-Rex already. So I don't know if this is how you kind of get involved and eventually if you get enough notoriety and people play it and go, oh, that's brilliant. Gordon Ramsay works so well. and so does the Pillsbury Doughboy, you can just put him into a set, and maybe that's how it happens. I don't know, but yeah, I'll try and find the link for it because it was so weird, so weird.
I definitely feel like I want to see a weird out there commercially released Unmatched set, like
Yeah, 100%.
like just 4 characters that you would not associate with kind of like a combat kind of game. Just in general, I would love to see that.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I think that's what makes it so.
I'd like
so
to see
funny.
David Cameron and Babe Pig in the City.
Oh god, could you imagine?
Oh god. Anyway,
I'd pay real money for that.
yeah. Okay.
Y'all know why.
Imagine.
Oh no,
Oh
that's just
Steve didn't realise, did he?
no. I think yeah, no, he didn't.
it's Black Mirror all over again. Right,
Yeah.
let's move on. Okay. Next up, talking about a Kickstarter that looks really interesting, The Shadow Planet. I believe this one is based off an Italian comic book. Funnily enough, called The Shadow Planet. There's a lot of neat things on this Kickstarter because of that. I know there's a few extras you can get, like you can actually get like a novella and stuff like that, but all based on it. Really interesting looking system. From the sounds of it, it's something that I've not really seen in a game before, but we have touched very recently on a subject that is covered in this game, which is the idea of you not taking single control of elements in the game. So the idea is that there are 6 characters in the game, and for the largest part of the game, they're controlled by everyone through kind of like a deck building system. And only towards the end of the game do players start taking control of a singular character and saying, right, I am now this character, which is a really interesting way of having it. I believe as well it's got secret objectives as well. So the idea is most of you will be looking to get off this planet with a looming alien threat. It's kind of like got this real kind of like pulp sci-fi kind of feel to it, like in the art style and stuff like that. Do you guys know a comic book artist called Grant Morrison at all?
That
Name rings a bell.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds really familiar, but I can't think why.
Because the art style looks very similar to the kind of thing he does. Kind of like those kind of like thick black lines and lots of kind of like inking to them and stuff like that. That looks really, really cool. But yeah, the idea is that your secret roles, one person will be playing as, could possibly be playing as the alien menace. I think they said up to three people could be trying to get off the planet. And one person might be trying to keep the rest of the crew behind to accomplish certain tasks before they go. So making sure that everything is done before they leave. And it just looks like a really interesting system. There are these really, like you can see on the picture there, the character pieces are like these really cool kind of like miniature busts of all the characters, which is really neat. Like I said, it's got this comic book aesthetic just running through the entire thing, and it's kind of just described as almost like H.P. Lovecraft in space kind of a deal, with a looming alien threat whilst you're trying to get off, with kind of like a narrative running throughout it. Looks very, very cool. What do you guys make of it?
I like the bust. I think they're nice. It's difficult to say from the rest, but like, gives me what's the alien game where you've got to escape the ship?
Are you talking about Nemesis?
I am. Gives me
yes.
Nemesis vibes.
It's
Yeah, it's one of those things that like it's hard to say until you've played it, but like I do like the look of the busts. I think that is a nice idea. I think quite often people go for as like a best way to describe it. Quite often you get figures in like your sort of games, and I just like the idea of the busts. Like I don't know why
Different,
it's
isn't it?
this.
It's very different.
I think it reminds they did it in Fantasy Flight did it for one of their games, didn't they?
I think it might have been
40K
for
one.
Forbidden Stars. I think was the one that
Yeah.
had that. Funnily
But I
enough,
really like it as an idea.
yeah. The board
think-
looks really interesting as well.
Yeah,
It doesn't look
I was
like
gonna
a
say,
standard.
it doesn't look right.
Yeah, it seems like it would take some explanation to figure out
Because
who
it's just
goes where, when.
circles going round in circles, which I wonder if it's. But style wise, I'm digging it. It looks really like comic-y kind of. I don't know. Maybe it's just the bold colours. I assume that looks like the moon, maybe in the background, the big red
It's
moon.
certainly a planet.
Oh,
of some
could be Mars. Yeah, could be Mars.
It is the
But
Shadow
it's
Planet.
just got. Oh. But it just I don't know. It just looks cool. Like everything looks cool. The little tokens look cool. Like Ian said, the bus look incredible. I really like that as a concept, as opposed to like cardboard standees are cool. Like don't get me wrong, they work
I
really
hate
well in
them.
certain things. They work well in certain games. They keep the cost down. I understand, but
I
like
hate them.
okay, Ian hates them, but Anyway, and miniatures sometimes, if they're just unpainted, can be a bit boring. Or you don't paint them or whatever. But yeah, I do like the idea of busts. They look quite chunky as well.
But I mean, they've got a couple of other little extras on this as well. You've got things like they've actually arranged a soundtrack for it
That's cool.
that will be kind of neat to play in the background as you're playing. Never really had that properly in a game before. Had it with a few RPGs before, where they've kind of given you a playlist to kind of like play in the background and stuff as you're playing. I certainly had it for a number of those kind of like solo RPGs and stuff like that, but never really seen it on a board game before. But yeah,
It's interesting as well that there's no. It's just a flat. That's it. It's just €40. There's no other option or pledge versions. It's just you can get a mini expansion, but there's no like top tier. There's no get this and get Kickstarter exclusive kind of stuff other than the €5 thing. It's kind of interesting.
but yeah, with on the day that this podcast was released, I believe there'll be 12 days to go still on this. It's currently not met its goal of £25,984. It's currently sitting close to 18,000. It would be a real shame if this one didn't get off the ground, because it's certainly got a really interesting look to it. It's got a really interesting game system to it. Not saying it's necessarily good just yet, but to look at it, it looks really
Lovely.
interesting. So it would be a shame if this one does not get fully funded by the end of it, but we'll see. Right then, that is all of the news. So
No more news.
that just leaves us to explore our big topic. Okay, so
You said that with more enthusiasm than I've had for years.
just in general.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Wow.
What a sorry state of affairs. Anyway, the big topic gets to be chosen by our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/everybodydice, where every single time we put out one of these podcasts, they get 3 options to choose from. And they basically get to pick what we talk about at the end of this from those options. They also kind of get the option of choosing which game we review every month, which are currently put on hold until we can finally get in a room and actually play some stuff together. That's why those aren't happening at the moment. But they also get a newsletter every month as well, so that's patreon.com/everybodydice. And yeah, join us for as little as $1 a month. Their options this month, anyway, were: how would you select a game to play with a new gamer? Is there a game mechanic that either puts off or draws you into a game? But our winner this week is: if money was no object, what is the one item you'd get to enhance your gaming? Plenty of ways to do these sort of things these days, of course. Like on the high end of things, you've got things like gaming tables and things like that. if you go on places like Etsy as well, you can very much
crazy stuff.
pimp up your games. Like, you can find game pieces like to replace all like the cardboard pieces and stuff like that. If you've got one game that you particularly enjoy and just want to make it that bit nicer, there's loads of places that can offer you pieces like that. Like, there are a lot of options out there just that are unnecessary but just nice to have.
Cool as hell.
Yeah, like even lighting and stuff like that. There are lots of really cool little lighting options for your game room, even, and stuff. I think when we were at the UK Game Expo, I think they even had a couple of the gaming tables where the table part was a screen. Yeah.
That's
so
really nice.
So if you wanted to run like RPG campaigns and stuff like that, you could just basically put a map down on there and just place your miniatures and stuff you were using to represent the characters and move them across pretty much like continents and stuff like that. And then in a press of a button, all of a sudden they're in a city or something like that. You know, there's a lot of really nice things out there. I mean, you may have noticed that we've got a gaming table in our Everybody Dice videos. This is one we made. Like,
It's custom built.
We don't have the kind of money to be able to afford an actual gaming table because they cost about £4,000 or something ridiculous like that. This is
how much did it cost us in total?
I think it was somewhere between 100 and 200 just to make kind of like a table topper with kind of like a wood surround and stuff like that, and a nice kind of like finish to the table surface. Took a bit of work, but you know, for the amount of money you save, it's great because we can play pretty much any board game on this now and not be hard up for space, really. So it's really neat.
It's just the thing, I think. I think this is the problem, isn't it? It's because there is literally no money object in this scenario.
I mean, surely you just get like a cul-de-sac of houses and convert one into a big games. Like
I would. Right? Yeah, I think I would definitely have a gaming bunker.
Yeah,
a gaming
I'd like a
center.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. It would be an underground, converted bunker basement or whatever. But
playing into the stereotype that all gamers sit in their basements in the dark.
The only reason I say that is
because... have gone for an open air gaming arena or something like that.
No, I don't.
I like. Who wants that? Because if it rains, your stuff gets wet. But also, it's outside, and that's where people are.
Money's no object, though. You could quite easily have a roof that can extend over those. They got them on football stadiums. Money's no object here.
We play our board games at Wembley now.
I think I could see it being like a kind of I want a fully immersive gaming zone. So like you say, so when if it's RPGs, if it's wargaming, whatever, there's sound, there's lights, there's ambience, you know, like this, so you really feel like you're in it. So there's ambience, you know, like there's smells. It's pumping out smells of war. So, like, if you're playing...
Sorry, don't they have something similar to that at Entoyment? They've kind of got a specialised, like, RPG room, which has, like, a couple of bits like that.
More, yeah, but I'd like it on a grand scale. So, like, if you were playing Star Wars Legion, you've got, like, noises in the background. There's, like, there's all the terrain you could ever want. Ever. Modular, pre-built, full Death Stars, whatever you want, right? Digital floor, so you can change the maps every time. It's just really cool things. It's climate controlled. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got a TV display, so you can watch stuff in the background. There's overview cameras, so you can go back and go, well, actually, I don't think that line of sight genuinely was, and laser draw it. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's that gold technology they use?
What, Hawkeye and the AR and stuff like that?
Yeah. That I'd want that built into gaming system so that you could go back and just rewatch the. Do you know what I mean? For rules of utter, that would be so good because you'd be like, well, actually, line of sight doesn't count, and then you could do like a little digital 3D version where it's like scan the environment in and just broadcasting it in a VR. You'd be like,
excuse me. I think he might have moved his piece half a centimetre
Yeah.
too far.
Which you could
VAR.
do. Which you could
VAR.
do. Which you could
Oh,
do.
God.
It'd be so
That would
good.
be a
You could press the
nightmare.
button,
I would
and
hate
it'd come
that.
up on the wall.
It's honestly
But
not
more
the kind of people I want to have access to VAR.
But still, it would be fun to be able to kind of review more for like replay and stuff like that. It'd be good fun. But yeah, I would definitely want a fully immersive room, full stock fridge, like just everything on site, so you don't ever need to worry about it.
Basically, like Cartman's basement, where his mum holds a bucket under his butt.
Yeah, I was thinking more like a cool kind of Batcave vibe. But if we want to go for that,
So, can I just reel things in a little bit here? Because
go on.
I kind of feel like what's happened here is the genie in the lamp has granted you a wish, and you've said, I want more wishes. Because the question was actually, if money was no object, what is the one item you get to enhance your gaming?
The table with the digital screen. Then easily, like, because I've been looking at them online a minute ago when you were talking about it. There's ones where you can get everything plugged in. There's sound kits, USB chargers, cup holders. I think you could probably get ones that chill your drinks. Do you know what I mean? Like everything all built into this one modular table that you can just do what you want with. Yeah, probably. I imagine it'd be over 10 grand for a custom one that I want, but it'd be incredible. Like those kind of tables you can get at like restaurants, not restaurants, like home tables where they start off small, but you can like build them into a bit bigger.
Right. Okay.
If it was a possibility that you could go, oh, we're playing for 6 tonight, extend it. If it could do that, that'd be great. Yeah. How good would that be?
Oh God. Like, here's the thing. I'm happy with the table that I've already got. Like, I think it suits purpose and stuff like that. I think what I'd really like to enhance like game nights and stuff like that, I would actually like a really, really cool. I would like a really expensive lighting system or something like that. I would really like something like that just to be able to kind of like turn things up and like be able to set like a tone for whatever game we're playing relatively quickly, like at a press of a button or something like that. That would be something that I'd really want to invest in because, admittedly, like there's been a lot of things I've been thinking of recently. Like, there are a lot of games that I would like to go online and buy loads of nice parts to replace like the cardboard pieces of and stuff like that for the games I really like. But that's kind of then going. That's again. It feels like I'm saying I'm asking the genie for more wishes. Because
would you have the light set? Like you can get those TVs that like automatically change to depending on what you're watching to kind of make it more immersive. Would you have something sort of similar to that then, where you?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a little bit hard with that though, because obviously there's no digital information or anything like that. Like when I pick Mysterium out from my my board game shelf and stuff like that, there's no digital information being fed to the
I guess
to the lighting system to say you're playing Mysterium now. Here's some blue lighting for you or something like that. So I don't think that would kind of work. I kind of feel like I want to stay in the I kind of want to stay in the realms of reality with this. I don't want to say I want something where I'll have a lighting system where it will detect what I'm playing and then adjust the lighting. Because
QR codes.
Because it doesn't exist. It just simply doesn't exist. But yeah, like you said, something with presets.
A robot that auto paints all of my figures for me.
No, you wouldn't.
No,
you wouldn't.
Just...
You love it. You love it.
I know I do. It's a joke.
You'd love it. It's not.
But yeah, I definitely feel like that's the kind of thing that I would like at the moment, because like a sound system and stuff like that, I feel like I've got speakers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All I need is my phone to be able to adjust for something like that. But like a really good lighting system would be really, really cool for something like that. Ian?
What about you?
I would like a proper like workbench desk thing for my models painting.
That'd be nice.
I've got this desk and I've got my like little model lamp and things like that. I'd like a dedicated space much like the table behind me, but without all the junk that I put on it.
Like you're again, like a little sort of spraying station and all that kind of stuff, so everything's nice.
Sure,
and
yeah,
colour.
like a little enclosed booth, like a.
Yeah, that'd be really nice.
To be honest, I kind of like when I go to people's houses and they're into like the hobbyist things and stuff like that, and they have their tables which has all the paint marks and stuff on them. I think it always looks really, really cool anyway. Like
It does show character.
I'm looking
It does
down.
really
It's
show
like
character.
every surface in this room.
yeah,
Covered
It's
in
got
paint.
paint on it somewhere. Yeah.
but I kind of like that anyway. But yeah, so you'd want kind of like something, I'm guessing, with like built-in kind of like paint holding kind of thing with like a place to put your brushes and stuff like that.
That'd be nice. And then like maybe display shelves above for completed miniatures.
Oh yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. So there we have it, I suppose. Like, I don't know. Are there any other things you would think of that you would think would be a neat little additional thing to have? Like, one of the things I would say for me as well that maybe isn't quite so quite so interesting as a lighting system. I just want a place with a bit more space, really. Places to be able to put.
I think that
put
was the
more
crux
stuff.
of what we were saying when I was like, oh, we'll have a cul-de-sac. Just
Yeah.
having a huge amount of space to have like big game tables set up. We could start playing Twilight Imperium and not have to rip it apart. Yeah.
It's funny because there's a bungalow across from me, and when they first moved in, I remember they didn't have curtains, and he was playing Warhammer one night, and he had like quite a big set of. I have Frozen, by the way, guys, but we'll just go with it.
I'm leaving that
I'm
in
not
too.
just. That's fine.
We're wrapping this
he had,
up
like, a
soon. It's
really
fine.
he had this really big like this kind of gaming table with loads of like almost like Warhammer from Entoyment kind of stuff. Anyway, they eventually built like an outbuilding type thing, and they were selling it not that long ago. And I saw the photos of it, and oh my god, it was huge. He had like the full table set up, a bit like Ian was saying, all the glass cabinets of all of the scenery, miniatures. He was only a 40k gamer, so it was all one basic.
That's the dream, though, isn't it? Like,
It was.
for me,
And it had a
personally.
TV. It had the sofa, so it was basically you could chill, but you could play games.
It was like my man cave on steroids.
Yes, 100%, 100%. And it was like almost like a shipping container style building size wise, but it's just incredible that it was originally a garage. So yeah, that'd be nice to have like a kind of an outside building that you could walk to. It's all heated, it's all electrified, everything's good.
That's the dream when I sell all my cryptocurrency for millions.
Exactly.
All that GameStop money.
All that sweet GameStop money. Sitting pretty.
All right.
God.
Well, with Daryl frozen, I feel like now is quite a good time to wrap this up. So thank you very much for joining us on this episode of the podcast. If you've enjoyed this podcast, then please do give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, leave a comment down below and let us know what you would like to add to your gaming zone, should money be no object as well. If you would like to follow us on social medias, you can find us at Everybody Dice on Twitter and at Everybody Dice Show on Instagram. One more time, if you would like to join our Patreon page, you can do it at patreon.com/everybodydice. And for as little as $1 a month, you just get access to a few nice little extras, such as helping us shape our content and access to a few things like our audio newsletter, which we do once a month. Apart from that, we also have a Facebook page, facebook.com/everybodydice, and there should be something on screen round about now. Please do give some of those videos a click. In fact, I'm going to link that 6 Great Alternatives to Chess video in this one, so please do check out that video. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of the podcast, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye! You're going to wave, Daryl. Wave, Daryl. Wave, you son of a bitch.
Daryl is waving.
Bye.
Daryl is waving.